आज एक एहतजाज हो रहा है शेफील्ड में, और ये शेफील्ड सिटी हॉल है जहाँ पर लोग इकट्ठे हुए हैं। और लोग इसलिए इकट्ठे हुए हैं कि जो इज़राइल है उसकी दहशतगर्दी के हवाले से इकट्ठे हुए हैं। उन्होंने दुनिया के तमाम जो कानून हैं वो तोड़ दिए हैं और बार बार वो दहशतगर्दी जो है गाज़ा पे, फ़लस्तीन पे करते हैं, लेकिन जो पूरी आवाम है दुनिया की वो खामोश है इस पर। और हमारे जो मुस्लिम ममालिक हैं वो भी खामोश हैं इस पर। अब उनको आवाज़ उठानी चाहिए। तो ये अब शुरू हो रहा है, 6 बजे का टाइम दिया था और एग्जैक्ट 6 बजे ये शुरू हो गया है एहतजाज। तो उम्मीद करता हूँ कि जो लोग यहाँ पर आए हुए हैं उनकी आवाज़ जो है वो भी दुनिया में कहीं ना कहीं पहुँचेगी। और ख़ास तौर पर हमारे जो मुसलमान ममालिक हैं उनको चाहिए कि इस पर वो एक ठोस कदम उठाएं और तमाम ममालिक जो हैं वो इकट्ठे हों इस पर। और जब तक मुसलमान ममालिक जो हैं वो इकट्ठे नहीं होंगे ये मसले मसाइल जो हैं ये हल होने वाले नहीं हैं।
Hello, is this better? Yeah, okay. Can I ask you before we start to stand in a minute of silence for not only the victims who fell last night in Gaza, including 9 children, but for one boy, a Palestinian child footballer, Saadi Aouda, who was running away from the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers, the so-called most ethical army in the world, and he was shot twice in the back. A 15-year-old footballer, very promising footballer from Nablus in the West Bank, was shot in the back. We stand in a minute of silence for him and all the victims of the Israeli continuing aggression against the Palestinians. So 1 minute in silence, please.
जी, ये एक 15 साल जो बच्चा है उसको शूट कर दिया गया है और गाज़ा में उस हवाले से इन्होंने 1 मिनट साइलेंस जो है वो किया है।
Thank you very much. I'll pass the microphone now to Abdullah from Black Lives Matter. I'd like to thank Black Lives Matter, thank Muslim Association Britain, Sheffield Labour Friends of Palestine, and Sheffield Hallam University, Sheffield Palestine Society and Sheffield University, and all the people. Thank you all for coming. And I'll pass the microphone now to Abdullah. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free!
Raise your fist if you can, please.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free!
Thank you. Okay, so just firstly, we just want to thank Mushir and all the individuals who contributed in terms of organizing this. A particular shout as well to Amna, who convinced us to push this protest forward. First time organizing as well, so mashallah, well done for that. So it's great to have people wanting to protest, but before we go on to the speakers and let them speak, what I wanted to ask is basically, you know, when it comes to protest, we're always there, yeah? We're always there. But when it comes to organizing, where are we? Yeah? When it comes to grassroots organizing, when it comes to underground, yeah? When it comes to speaking to our families, speaking to our relatives, speaking to our colleagues at work, people at school, in college, in university, where are we? Where's our voices? We're very silent, yeah? And it is very good. It's very good that we're active on social media. That's the very least, at the very least. Personally, I don't even think it's the very least, but that's the very least that you could do for our Palestinian siblings. At the very least, to raise the awareness of what's going on. Because you've seen the media outlets, you've seen how You know, they're twisting the words, not telling the full story of what's going on in East Jerusalem. But it's not enough, wallah. Yeah? It's not enough. You have to be engaging. You have to be active. Yeah? And one of the things you could do, sign petitions. Speak to your MPs. Get them on board. I've been told the Labour MPs in Sheffield are supporting the cause. Personally, I might be wrong, but I've only seen one statement from one of those MPs. Yeah? But even that's not enough. Yeah? Keir Starmer, look how long it took him to respond. Yeah? If I'm not mistaken, over 3 days, even longer. The only leader from the political parties, not even the main parties, Nicola Sturgeon, was the only one who responded quick. Statements are not enough, but we have to hold our MPs to account, our councillors as well. Some of them have been silent on this cause. When it came to the PLM protest, this is why we're so happy to get involved, but we know that we're not doing enough. We are not doing enough. Organising protests is not enough. When we go to workshops led by Palestine Solidarity Campaign and other groups like the university students, where are we? Where is this number? These numbers, where are we? Really, where are we? So please, let's not just make it about protests. Yeah? Let's make it about a real cause. Yeah? Because us being here today, whilst it's much appreciated, it's not even near enough. Not nearly enough. So please, from now on, get active. And it's so good to have so many young people, you know, messaging on social media and getting their friends on board. Yeah? But this is a message for myself and everyone here. Yeah? Young or old, get involved, please.
Can I invite Fliss to read a statement from our local MP, Louise Haig. Fliss, if you can. Sorry? So Louise Haig can't be with us, but she sent a good statement which we want to start by reading it.
Okay, yeah. She did send this a couple of days ago, so it doesn't actually talk about the bombings in Gaza, it just talks about East Jerusalem. She says it's abundantly clear that the UK must take action to stop Israeli war crimes in occupied East Jerusalem. Thank you to everybody who's turned out today. She's sorry she can't be here. She's joining the call for political action to be taken by the government and other members of the international community to stop the forced eviction, displacement and dispossession of Palestinian families in Sheikh Jarrah. The government is well aware of the forcible transfer of occupied population that constitutes a war crime under international law. Everybody knows that, but no action is ever taken. It's therefore vital that political pressure and action intensifies through protests just like this, because the families will not obtain justice under a discriminatory system that is stacked against them. We're making clear political demand for a moratorium on evictions for Palestinians. Furthermore, the international community absolutely should be calling for the return of homes that have already been, as well as demanding accountability for the actions of Israeli officials. Finally, I wanted to reference the distressing scenes of Israeli police brutality, which has frequently been deployed against these families and their supporters, and even more so now since she wrote this, whilst holding vigils and protests to protect their homes and stand in support and solidarity with them as they seek justice and accountability. The UK and the rest of the international community should condemn in absolute terms the ways in which knees were placed on the necks of members of the Sheikh Jarrah families and other Palestinians, the use of batons, tear gas, skunk spray and other forms of police violence used on those trying to save their community from forced eviction and dispossession. My heart is with all those who are suffering and stand in solidarity with protesters today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fliss, and thanks, Louise Haig. And we really need more politicians to take a stand and call things what they are. War crimes against the Palestinians. War crimes, there is no other way to describe it. And I just want, because Abdullah is keen on chanting, we want please to chant together. Because the most important thing about this rally is not only Britain, but for people in Palestine to know that you are with them, to know that they are not abandoned, because the whole world is abandoning them, including our corrupted government, which is in cahoots with the Israelis all the time. So please, if I can teach you two words, you can say tahiyya. When I say the first word, you say tahiyya, and then abiyya. It's easy. So I will say in Sheffield, you say tahiyya, and then to Palestine, which is from Sheffield, salute from Sheffield to the resilient Palestinians. So from Sheffield, tahiyya. From Sheffield, tahiyya. La Palestine, abiyya. So tahiyya, abiyya. Can we do that before we start? Because really it makes a great difference. من شافل لفلسطين من شافل لفلسطين من شفيل لفلسطين من شفيل لفلسطين من شفيل لفلسطين. Thank you very much. Repeat it through the that was fantastic. Abdullah.
Okay, so our first speaker is actually Brother Mashir, who will be speaking on behalf of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Before I do pass it on to Mashir, what I want to say is, you know, like every single one of us, we have our own families, you know, we have our responsibilities. But Brother Mashir, with all the responsibilities that he has as a father, you know, and with his families and his friends, almost every week I see this guy on the street. Every week or every so week. And the same thing with Shahad and all the other activists within the Palestine Solidarity Campaign and the universities as well. All the time, outside HSBC, outside other organizations, always campaigning, always teaching people how to get involved, what is going on in Gaza and Jerusalem and Palestine. So it's absolutely a crucial advice for you all to please join the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. I'm a member by cash, but I'm not active as I should be. Yeah, it's only a few quid a year. Yeah, like you can even pay like the meal that you buy with a Happy Meal or whatever meals you buy it with. You can use that very cheap membership. Please support them. Get involved with them. The Palestine Solidarity Campaign. They're based here in Sheffield. We have a huge community in Sheffield. And do you know what? The responsibility is not on the Muslims, or the responsibility is not on the Palestinians. Yeah, this responsibility is upon us all. It's a responsibility upon us all. So please, when it came to, you know, Blackout Tuesday or BLM and so on, yeah, everyone was on social media going crazy all about it, as they should be. But we can't gaslight the experience of our Palestinian siblings who over 70 years have been campaigning for their freedom. Yeah? So it's on us. It's our responsibility to get involved. I'll pass you over to Brother Mashir, because if I don't stop talking, I won't stop talking. So I'll pass him over.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. And I really want to reiterate what Abdullah said. It's about our duties as human beings. It's not about being Palestinian or being Muslim or being Christian or being any orientation. It's about us as human beings who stand for justice. If it wasn't in Palestine, it would be somewhere else. And I can assure you that all of us will be there. One thing I want to start with is it's important to know why we're here. We mentioned the Sheikh Jarrah families, 19 to 25 families. And their suffering hasn't started recently. Their suffering has started in 1948, when they were made refugees by force, by gunfire, by massacres. And they were forced to leave, and they went to Jerusalem to live as refugees. And then the United Nations, with all its might, signed an agreement with the Jordanian government, which was controlling the West Bank at the time, to host these 19 to 25 families, which have grown now to about 700 people, in Sheikh Jarrah. Yet, Israel cannot tolerate cannot tolerate Palestinians to be safe in their own homes. Yet, Israel had to create laws that are very racist. They sit on committees in their councils, in their government, and they say this land is agricultural, this planning is for residential units, this land is so and this land is so, with no involvement, none whatsoever, from anybody but the Zionists who are radical and want to drive the Palestinians out. Then they say, hey, you are on land that should be agriculture, you are illegal. When was the racist laws acceptable? Were the racist laws in South Africa when apartheid was legal? Apartheid in South Africa, I want to remind everybody, was legal. And fighting apartheid was illegal. The Palestinians are in the same position now. They're fighting the attempts to evict them from their own homes. And yet they are accused of being violent. They are saying they are responsible. And the media is on board under impartiality. Why should we be impartial when somebody is being forced to leave their homes? Why should we be impartial when people are forced to leave their property, when people are reduced to second or third or 10th grade citizens in their own homes? Why should we be impartial when people are driven out of their homes? Why should we be impartial when their agricultural land is destroyed, when their hospitals are bombed? Why should we be impartial when 9 children died in the bombing last night? Why should we be impartial with a groom who was preparing for his wedding the second day of Eid was killed last night? Just to please the colonial settlers, just to please the media, which is supporting the colonial settlers. No, we will not be impartial. And we will call things for what they are. Israel is a criminal state. And if people are sensitive about that, and there's nothing anti-Semitic about talking about Israel, because we are attacking the acts of the Israelis, not their background, not their religious or ethnic background. We have no issues, and we will fight. We will fight with the utmost force. Anybody who will fight Israel because of its background as Jewish state, or as coming from a Jewish background. No, we will not accept that. We will not accept that. We are fighting for Israel to stop its racist practices, its aggression, its ethnic cleansing, which is still ongoing. What's happening in Sheikh Jarrah has started in 1948. And I would like to invite you all, this coming Saturday outside the town hall, we're having 73 anniversary of the Nakba.
जी मैं ये कवर कर रहा हूँ यहाँ शेफील्ड में जो एहतजाज हो रहा है और बहुत तादाद में लोग जो हैं उन्होंने इसमें शिरकत की है.
People who were driven by force. Then the lie was given to the world. 532 villages were destroyed. The Palestinian culture has been destroyed, and they lied and they said land. They said that land without people for people without land. And the Guardian only 2 days ago admitted its mistake when the Guardian saluted the Balfour Declaration and said those Palestinians are backwards and they didn't deserve it. The Balfour Declaration was great, and now they say we made a mistake. But it's not enough to make a mistake. We must correct this mistake, and let's not get intimidated by the media and their attacks on us. It's great to see all these faces, it's great to see your support, but as Abdullah said, and I reiterate, we like to see you when it's hot or cold. We like to see you because the Palestinians are suffering every day. Only when blood is shed, and only when people are hurt on large scale, when people take notice, because the media don't pass this information to you, or not to you, to the people. And that's why people think Palestine is safe, but when it's happening every day. Saadi Oda I spoke about, only 2 months ago, Iyad al-Halak was killed. A young boy, 14 years old, with special needs, who was just going to his school, was shot in the chest by an Israeli soldier. Nobody cares. What happened in Sheikh Jarrah the racism that took the Zionist settlers who were passing through Sheikh Jarrah and East Jerusalem day in and day out, chanting Mufat al-Arabim, which means death to Arabs. Death to Arabs, every day, every day. Then when the Arabs, the Palestinians, object to their eviction, they are the ones who are creating violence. And they are the ones who should be impartially covered in the media. Not to say that death to Arab. Imagine if we stand here and say death to any group of people. How this would be. First of all, we lose our respect for ourselves before the world should be disrespecting us. But sadly, they use the card of anti-Semitism, accusations of anti-Semitism, and I would like to ask you to stand firm and resist these accusations and be very proud to be anti-Israeli because you are anti-criminal state. Thank you so much. I'll stop here, and I hope to see you this coming Saturday at 12 o'clock outside the town hall. Please try to make it, and happy Eid to all of you who are celebrating Eid.
Thank you, Bashir. Such a wonderful speech and a lot to learn from. Our next speaker is, you already know her, is Shahad, who is former president of Sheffield Palestinian Society, a student activist, and has been involved for many years in regards to the Palestinian cause and any other causes as well. I know Shahad personally from the time of being a student as well. And you know what, like I've seen so little of activists who really mean what they say and are very passionate about what they're talking about. And it's not because she's Palestinian, it's because of how eager she is for change to happen. And so what I'll do now is I'll pass you over to Shahad. Please, if you could just welcome Shahad, please.
Thank you everybody for coming here. It looks like it's about to rain. But we stand here and we stand firm, as Ammo Mashir said. We stand firm for Palestine. Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Can I see a show of hands for how many people here who speak Arabic? That's great. So I would like, I'm really angry, and I feel like not many words can express my anger. And at those times I actually find consolation in the Palestinian chants. I find power in voices and the chants that we used to say at difficult times like that to support our resilience and keep going. And so I would like us to do some chants together in Arabic. Can you join me? Yes. واطلع يا قمرنا وهلو ضوي الكرة الأرضية. واطلع يا قمرنا وهلو ضوي الكرة الأرضية. وما خلقنا تنعيش بذل، خلقنا نعيش بحرية. وما خلقنا تنعيش بذل، خلقنا نعيش بحرية. واطلع يا قمرنا وهلو ضوي الكرة الأرضية. واطلع يا قمرنا وهلو ضوي الكرة الأرضية. وما خلقنا تنعيش بذل، خلقنا نعيش بحرية. ما خلقنا نعيش بذل، خلقنا نعيش بحرية. كرامة، حرية، عدالة اجتماعية. كرامة، حرية، عدالة اجتماعية. كرامة، حرية، عدالة اجتماعية. كرامة، حرية، عدالة اجتماعية. ومن المية للمية، من المية للمية. فلسطين عربية، فلسطين عربية. من المية للمية، من المية للمية. فلسطين عربية، فلسطين عربية. ومن شيفيلد للشيخ جراح، من شيفيلد للشيخ جراح. راح نواصل الكفاح، راح نواصل الكفاح. من شيفيلد للشيخ جراح، من شيفيلد للشيخ جراح. راح نواصل الكفاح، راح نواصل الكفاح. Thank you. Thank you so much. I just chanted for freedom for Palestine, for not another year of living in humiliation and depression under Israeli apartheid. I chanted for Palestine and its Arab identity from the river to the sea. And I chanted promising the Palestinians on the receiving end of weapons that are manufactured here, that we are going to carry on the struggle with them. And as long as the sumud, the steadfastness is going, we are also going. Last night I had a sleepless night, and it was actually quite a few sleepless nights in the past few weeks. And I know many Palestinians here have been struggling the same, because Israel has challenged every universal value of humanity that we have.
It has started to rain, but everybody
We
is
stand shocked
standing. Nobody's moving.
every time we think that Israel has shocked us enough and broke all red lines. They still break up more red lines. What has been happening in Sheikh Jarrah, in Jerusalem, needs to be seen in the biggest picture. It is a regime of settler colonialism and apartheid that stretches from the river to the sea. And that's why we say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
from the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
from the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
from the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
So often, we see Israeli apologists accusing us of anti-Semitism for saying this. And this is because we are saying that the Israeli oppression is affecting Palestinian communities and choking them wherever they are, in Gaza, in Jerusalem, in Yafa, in Haifa, in Al-Jalil, in Silwan, in Jenin, everywhere Palestinians have been resisting and fighting and standing firm, existing and resisting. And what we see is not an isolated event. As Amu Mshir said, it's part of a systematic ethnic cleansing campaign. Just recently, just by the turn of this new year, Bet Salem, an Israeli human rights group, has said that Israel commits the crime of apartheid against Palestinians. This is far too late, in fact. And we all Palestinians know that. Palestinians lived apartheid for 73 years, enabled by this country. And I grew up at the receiving end of oppression that is manufactured and enabled here by the British state, by European states, by the US that gives billions of dollars every year for Israel as military aid. And the Palestinians that you see here, our beautiful activists at PSC Sheffield prepared this banner to remember the Palestinians and to remember that they're not numbers. These are parents, these are families, they have their loved ones, they have their dreams. I remember going to UNRWA schools, to the UN schools that they opened to support the Palestinian refugees. And we would do routines of evacuation minutes just in case Israeli airstrikes fall on our heads while at school. Can you imagine, as a child, going and doing an evacuation mimic and knowing that you go to school and you might not survive? You might anytime being the next Palestinian child that dies. And this keeps on happening, and that's why the Palestinians are sick, tired. Israel has been trying to shift the narrative, and of course international media is helping them. And it's saying now that it's about rockets being fired from Gaza. Well, let us see you being bombed, dehumanized, demeaned, dispossessed, not safe even in your home, not safe going to school, not safe in your classmate. And let's see what you can do. We know from history that violence breeds resistance. And the Palestinians have been facing Israeli terrorism for 73 years with their own flesh. So many times in the past, frequent mass bombardments of Gaza, our home was threatened. And so many Palestinian homes. Of course, this is not isolated. And the Palestinians, the families would say, we'd rather die at home. Why should we leave our homes? We don't have shelters, and we know that Israeli mass murder machines follow us to even the makeshift shelters. In UNRWA schools, we know Al-Fakhura infamous massacre that happened in 2009. My father was the guard of this school. And we lived loss over and over again. We lived it as we were all, our grandparents were pushed from their homes for Israel to exist. What we fight here is racism, systematic racism that infiltrates every part of our lives, affects every part of our lives. Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! من المية للمية من المية للمية فلسطين عربية فلسطين عربية من المية للمية من المية للمية فلسطين عربية فلسطين عربية.
बड़ी ज़ोर से बारिश शुरू हो गई है और अभी तक कोई यहाँ से हिला नहीं है, बहुत ज़बरदस्त बारिश हो रही है.
I would like you now, I'm going to read the names, and in one voice between each name, I would like you to say rest in power. Okay? Saber Ibrahim Sulaiman. Muhammad Saber Ibrahim Sulaiman. Muhammad Mahmoud Abeid. زكريا زياد علوش. بشير محمد علوش. رائد العبد أبو وردة. عصمت شعبان الزين. موسى خليل الزين. نبيل دردونة. محمد عبد الله زيدان خايد. إبراهيم يوسف عبد الله المصري. أحمد محمد عبد الله المصري. رهف محمد عبد الله المصري. These two are, one is 10 years old and the other is 4. One, Ahmad and Rahaf are 2 children. One is 10 and the other is 6 years old. Ghassan Muhammad Atallah al-Masri. المصري.
Rest in power.
إبراهيم يوسف عطلة المصري.
Rest in power.
يزن سلطان عطلة المصري.
Rest in power.
Yazan is 1 year old. مروان يوسف عطلة المصري.
Rest in power.
إسراء رفيق فايد المصري.
Rest in power.
نبيل محمد هاني شبات.
Rest in power.
هاني محمد هاني شبات.
Rest in power.
جميل محمد هاني شبات.
Rest in power.
محمد علي محمد ناصر.
Rest in power.
حسام علي محمد نصير.
Rest in power.
محمود حسام علي محمد نصير.
Rest in power.
إبراهيم عبد الله حسنين.
Rest in power.
حسين منير حمد.
ये उन तमाम बच्चों के नाम और जो भी वहाँ शहीद
सलीम
हुए हैं,
محمد الفرع.
उनके नाम ले लेकर
The death toll has been rising, and that's why some of the names are not here. But we have to remember that since this has been made, I think more people have been killed. 2 Palestinians by Haj al-Za'tara, by Za'tara checkpoint in Nablus, have been killed. And 1 Palestinian in Lid, in the occupied 48 lands, have also been killed. May they rest in power. Thank you so much.
بالدم نفديك يا أقصى. بالروح 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 بالدم نفديك يا أقصى. فلسطين بالدم نفديك يا أقصى. بالروح بالدم نفديك يا فلسطين. بالروح بالدم نفديك يا فلسطين. بالروح بالدم نفديك يا فلسطين.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free!
Palestine!
Sheffield, you're too quiet.
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free! Free, free!
Our next speaker is Amna, who is one of the organizers and really pushed for this protest to happen. So if you could welcome Amna, please.
And thank you for everyone that's come here today. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you all again for standing here before us in support of our brothers and sisters in Palestine. When people are suffering and going through hardship, showing solidarity and letting them know that they are not alone is incredibly important. We're made to believe that actions like these are far too small, that they won't lead to anything and they won't solve the problem at hand. That every little action that we take leads to something bigger. As the situation in Palestine escalates, it is important now more than ever to stand with our Palestinian brothers and sisters and make our voices heard. We must not let history repeat itself. Let us make it clear that we will speak out for the Palestinian people when they are being silenced. Let us make it clear that Palestine will never die for as long as we continue to fight for it. Let us make it clear that our respect lies with the Jewish people, but not with the foundations that the State of Israel are built on. The Balfour Declaration. Thank you. The Balfour Declaration, the Nakba, the Kibbutz massacre, the Deir Yassin massacre, Operation Protective Edge, just a few examples. Let us make it clear that our respect does not lie with Israel's extreme political leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu, Yair Lapid, Naftali Bennett, just a few examples of Israel's extreme political figures who have called for the destruction of the Palestinian people. Let us make it clear that our respect does not lie with Israel's constant violation of human rights and its violation of international law. The demolishing of houses and building illegal settlements on stolen land. The rendering Palestinians homeless, forcing them to pay out of their own pocket to illegal settlers so that they can live comfortably. The indiscriminate bombing of civilian populations, such as the Gaza Strip, the world's largest open-air prison. The attacking worshippers unprovoked at Islam's third holiest site, Masjid al-Aqsa. I could go on and on, the list is endless. We always talk about how we'd have shown our solidarity with the oppressed under Nazi Germany, or how we'd have marched with our brothers and sisters during the civil rights movement. Now is our chance to stand up for the right side. Let every Palestinian here, in Palestine and around the world, know that we stand with them. They are not alone, and like a phoenix, they will rise from the ashes. But with hardship comes ease. Let us raise our voices against apartheid. Let us raise our voices against oppression. Let us raise our voices for Sheikh Jarrah and every neighbourhood that has been colonised. Let us raise our voices for Jerusalem. And most importantly, let's raise our voices for Palestine and its people. Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'd like to invite our brother and comrade Dick to speak for a very short period about the Jewish National Fund. Sadly, it has the word Jewish, which we have nothing against, but it's been culprit in the expulsion of the Palestinians since it was founded in 1901 and took part in 1948. So please, 2-3 minutes.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely great to be here. It's a huge demonstration. Well done, everyone, for being here today. If you listen to the media and the governments, the United States, Europe and Britain have said, let's have calm. It's already spoken today about the Human Rights Watch that said Israel is an apartheid state. If they want calm, there has to be justice. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Israel, as it exists today, would not be possible without the support of the United States, Britain and EU. All of them say apartheid is illegal. All of them support the various conventions against apartheid and against oppression. And what do? They support it. On the quiet, they support it. I'm from an organisation called Stop the JNF. If you want to see, is anyone here gives to Muslim charities? Yeah. All of you, I would guess. Have any of you had trouble with the Charity Commission? They are vicious towards Muslim charities. The Jewish National Fund is a Zionist organisation. What it supports is unbelievable. The Jewish National Fund, on its recorded rates, its reportings, gave money to the Gaza war. It's there, a charity. All charities in the UK
Shame!
must be for the public good.
Shame!
The second thing is it gives money to the Israeli military. This is supposed to be for the public good. Does anyone here believe that's for the public good? No! We in Stop the JNF have been saying very patiently that the Jewish National Fund, a British charity, it has been supporting Israeli apartheid since its foundations. It's one of the key organisations that's established Israeli apartheid. These demonstrations are absolutely great, but the links between the hypocrisy of the British government that says apartheid's illegal, the occupation's illegal, and then manufactures arms for Israel, supports Israeli factories like Elbit to supply arms to Israel. Shame! It's brilliant that we're here, but we've been here before. When these horrible attacks on Gaza, there were massive demonstrations. As soon as it's gone from the media, other pressures come in. Please join us. We need to start winning things. We can stop a British charity supporting Israeli apartheid. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Thank you very much, Dick. Thanks a lot, Dick, and thanks to all the committee of the JNF, Annie, Paul, and others. I do apologize, I forgot some names.
So our next speaker is Nusrat from the Muslim Association of Britain. So if you could welcome Nusrat, please.
For so many in the Muslim community, Palestine is important because of its religious and cultural significance, but Palestine is more than a Muslim issue. It's a humanitarian one. We should all be appalled at the brutality and violence enacted by the Israel state against Palestinian residents of Jerusalem. We should be appalled at Palestinian worshippers being attacked whilst in prayer, praying at Al-Aqsa Mosque. We should all be appalled that families are being dragged out of ancestral homes and forcibly being made homeless. But above all, we should be appalled that Sheikh Jarrah isn't an anomaly. It is the norm of life and occupation. It is inhuman. It is settler colonialism, and it is apartheid. In the wake of these attacks, and in these last few days of Ramadan, we pray for Palestine, for our Palestine siblings, those living under the occupation and those displaced around the world. In the days after Ramadan, we have to come together and organize. We are all here today because we've seen the pictures, we've watched the videos, we know their stories, but our actions cannot be limited to a tweet and a hashtag. We need to resist this ethnic cleansing every possible way. I pray that our solidarity never turns to complacency, and our hearts never become desensitized. But above all, I pray that in our lifetime we see a free Palestine.
Thank you very much. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Put your fist up! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Power to you. Our next speaker. Our next speaker has years of experience in grassroots activism and campaigning against unjust government policy and legislation. Has addressed internationally institutional and systemic racism and Islamophobia and state violence. She, along with her colleagues at Cage, have held some of the world's most powerful governments to account for their crimes. I would like to welcome Shazana from Cage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulillah. I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. It is difficult to find the words to speak, but I stand here today, and we stand here today to speak the truth that a complicit media and government will not speak. The situation in Palestine, in Gaza, in Sheikh Jarrah, it is a war zone where armed Israeli settlers under the protection of the Israeli police are unleashing their violence against the Palestinian people. The Palestinians call this expansionist, illegal occupation and ongoing Nakba, because the removal and forced exile of 80% of historic Palestine's native population between 1947 and 1949 was not a singular event. May the 15th will mark 73 years since the mass expulsion of Palestinians from cities and villages such as Haifa, Tarashiha and Safad in 1948. Know these names of these villages and others. Etch them in your hearts and minds, and don't ever let them be erased. As we witness, the whole world witnesses Jerusalem today. This is how refugees are made. This is what ethnic cleansing is. It is apartheid. It is illegal occupation. And the UK government is complicit in this assault and systematic violation of human rights. The UK purchases and exports major arms and weapon technology. Private corporations are also complicit and profit from the ethnic cleansing, incarceration, torture and violation of the Palestinian people. Palestinians are targeted daily with brute force by the military and police that use tear gas grenades, rubber-coated and sponge-tipped bullets and live ammunition. Israel uses the occupied territories as a testing ground for researching and developing its weaponry, which it markets around the world as combat-proven and field-tested. Well, you know what? Palestine is not your testing ground. Palestinian lives are not your field test. By buying from Israeli companies such as Albert Aerospace and Rafael, the UK is complicit in Israel's abuse of Palestinian human rights. If you want to make a change, know the root cause of the problem. Elad is the settler group stealing people's homes in Sheikh Jarrah as we speak. Elad is the same organization that funded Katie Hopkins. It is the same organization that funded the Henry Jackson Society, who brought us Prevent through the Students' Rights Project and Center for Security Policy, that brought us the Muslim ban. I reiterate, if you want to make a change, know the root causes of the problem. Witnessing the Palestinians defend Masjid al-Aqsa, the third holiest site in Islam, has been incredibly powerful in the last few days. And I say powerful because it is powerful. There is a saying that the Palestinians teach life, and it's true. They've used their own bodies as shields to protect one another, to protect Masjid al-Aqsa. They have defended the mosque with the strength of their hearts and iman. For many of us, seeing the images on our screens, it's teared our hearts. But I want to say to you all, the strength, the courage, the bravery of the Palestinians is every reason we have to do, why we have to do what we can to support them. We have lots of tools and resources. If we come together, we can do a lot. Let's utilize them and get organized and get mobilized. We have the technology to influence change, not just here in the UK, but beyond. So we must also hold other countries to also account, be it Pakistan, be it Turkey, be it Saudi Arabia, and so forth. This is a conversation that many will avoid. They'll be afraid to speak about it. So my final point I want to make today is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to have this conversation. This is a conversation we have to have. Say it and make it an affirmation that you will speak about Palestine. You will speak about the illegal occupation and systematic abuse Israel inflicts on the Palestinian people every single day, and you will not be afraid. The Palestinian struggle The Palestinian struggle is our struggle. Jazakallah khair.
No justice! No justice!
ये तो
No
थी
justice! No justice! No justice! I can't hear you. No justice! No justice! No justice!